over the weekend I was at a comp in Tauranga that had an FMC mean. The first attempt I got a 24. The others souls were DNFs, but here's the reconstruction of the 24. So I started with EO and I did this axis. Immediately I noticed this, and this being the bad axes. And I checked a bunch of 4 movers, and in the end I found this. R prime, which sets this down here, and then we do U prime to move this here, L, F, which sets up a 4 mover. I then looked at what it is, and as you can see, we have 4 corners and 2 edges. So this immediately sets up to the 4C4E trigger, which is R or R prime. I had a little look on this thing, but I ended up switching, and I found this. I did F2, which pairs up this sort of block and has this here and here, but these edges are sort of in the bad spot. I do R2, which makes this block and moves these edges apart so that they're in a much better position. Yeah. And then I did U2 to move this corner here, so I did a B2 to line that up. And that also moves this block up here without breaking it, and then from there it's just the trivial U L prime, which solves it. I then looked and used hyperparity and saw that we have this case, which is bars slash bars and 1 pair. If you know hyperparity, you know what that means. And then I traced the corners and got odd, and that told me that I had 3/4 turns. So I switched again and did a U-turn. So now it's 2/4 turns, because if we use hyperparity, we see that this is bars, bars, and when you have the corners in a position like that, that means it's 2/4 turns at minimum, and the case we have here is bar slash, and yeah, it ends up being 2/4 turns. I then did an L2, which is redundant, and I didn't really notice because I was setting up to a case that should be, which if I do a 1/4 turn, it could end up being 1/4 turn. So if I do a U or a U prime or a D here, it will be a 1/4 turn case. But when I looked at the HTRs here, it just didn't look very good, because as you can see, like, this has got a block here, and then there's no edge here, and yeah, and it didn't matter which way I went, it just wasn't a very nice looking case. So I switched, and then when we look at it here, I did an M prime, and we see if we do a D2, it sets up to RU to R prime. So if we don't do that M prime, if we just do a D2, which is an R2 in this case, not a D2, then we can set up to just a 3 mover, which is U, L2, D prime. And lucky I didn't get HTR on that. And then from here, yeah, there's another way you can do that around, but this leads to a better HTR. So then what I did is R2, which pairs up this block here, and we can see it setting up to nice blocks, and then we do B2, R2, and now as we can see, if we do a U2, we have this case, but if we, which can be solved in U2, F2, U2, F2, U2, F2, and that cancels a move. So we had a 10 move domino reduction to what I had as a 16 move HDR, but really it was a 6 moves then from HDR, so 16 move HDR, which was really 15, and then I got 24. Because if we look at the skeleton, the UL2, and then I switch, is unneeded, but the way it works out is we can just move that L on the other side of the HDR that I did to the inverse, and then we basically have a finish. But yeah, so yeah, that was the 24 I got.